All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Fraser O'Leary, the representative from Ward 4 on the State Board of Education. I'm here with my friend, the Ward 2 representative, Alistair Chang, and our boss, Caitlin Peng, for the Teacher and Educator Practice Committee. And we're going to be talking about a couple of things that we have been working on or want to work on, and that have to do with teacher practices and teacher retention. And I hope to talk a little bit about the literacy hearing coming up. What day is that, Alistair? I know I signed up for it, but I didn't write it down.
Putting me on the spot, Dr. O'Leary. I follow my calendar step by step. So
Okay, so it's not it's not within the next week, or is it? I don't think so. I thought it was.
Caitlin, do you know?
I'm checking right now. I
Thank you.
believe it is December 7th.
Oh, really? That far away?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have a teacher retention hearing coming up soon. That's in 2 weeks on Tuesday, October 25th.
Right, the 25th of October. Are you going to Phoenix, Alistair?
I am not, unfortunately. Are you?
Yeah,
Oh, great. I'm glad we have representation there.
I think there are quite a few people going, aren't there, Caitlin?
Yes, so you, Emily, Ruth, and Ebony Rose are going,
Oh,
as
cool.
well as Alex, Darren, Leave, and who else
Oh
is
my
going?
gosh, we'll have a
Some
whole
of-
plane.
Yeah, we have a whole party going, so it's going to be great.
Well, that'll be neat. My brother and sister and brother-in-law all live in Phoenix area, and
Oh, yeah?
one of them in Tucson. So I hope I'll be able to see everybody.
That's great. That agenda sounds good to me. So, Boss Caitlin, does that sound good to you too?
Yes, so Fraser, do you want to talk about the UDC update?
Sure. Can you see that, Alistair?
I do. I
Okay,
see the
good.
message from Dr. Burton. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm just sort of gonna, I asked her to put together a one pager as far as what's going on at UDC. And before that, I'll mention the information that we got from Pat Cunningham, who's at DCPS. That's the big thing you received yesterday. And she's a specialist for teacher recruitment and retention at the Office of Leadership Development in DC Public Schools. Now, I don't know about you, but I had no idea that there was a teacher recruitment and retention specialist. So, and it's a pretty comprehensive list of things that are on the schedule or they're thinking about and stuff like that. But maybe we can get Miss Cunningham, Caitlin, to come visit us next month. Now,
Sure,
Dr.
I can put an invite.
Dr.
I'm interested. Yeah.
Dr. Burton, who I met with last week from UDC, you've met her before, Alistair.
I'm a big fan.
She's mentioned that their relationship with DCPS has changed dramatically. Because I think the last time we talked to, especially that panel we had from, was it Howard and UDC, and who was the other panelists?
We
Kate?
also had American and Georgetown.
American and Georgetown. That we really didn't get any information about their interaction with DCPS. And she feels very comfortable with things that are happening between UDC and DCPS.
And what does that mean, Dr. O'Leary, as you had these conversations? What specifically have we been advocating for that we've gotten through, or that they've been advocating for and gotten through successfully?
Well, I think if you look at this, that's a great question. It sounded like I prompted you to ask it. This information that we got from Dr. Burton is one pager. I'm just going to read it to make it part of the official record or whatever. But also, why don't I do that and then see if it answers some of your questions and
Great.
might not others. So UDC offers education degrees at multiple levels: associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. UDC's tuition is based on student residency, which makes the most affordable option in Washington, D.C. for DC residents.
Mhm.
UDC's education master's program are only 1 year in length. Students begin in August and finish by May or June, depending on student teaching hours. And that's rather dramatic as far as preparing. Now these are students who are in the program, in the education program at UDC, but it's not completely limited to students who have a degree in education or anything. I'm just adding that.
Mhm.
Students who already hold teaching jobs can use their job as their student teaching placement site if certain requirements are in place and the principal approves. That's for the master's program. UDC graduates who earn a non-education undergraduate degree can earn a free master's degree in education through the Presidential Fellowship that's in place now at UDC. Now, this is fantastic. UDC has received money from the City Council to establish a Grow Your Own scholarship. This scholarship program provides the following: paraprofessionals who are DC residents can receive a stipend to pay full tuition and fees if they were within 2 years of completing their undergraduate degree. They will also receive praxis support, test prep, and test fees to earn their license. DC residents who graduated from a DC public high school or charter school can receive a stipend to pay full tuition and fees. This money can be used for an undergraduate degree. If they are did I already read that? No, I didn't. For an undergraduate degree, if they are within 2 years of graduating, or the money can be used for the 1-year master's program at UDC. Students will also receive praxis support. Same line as the last thing. UDC also offers a certificate and a master's degree in adult education. OSSI has funding to support some students in the certificate program. And on next Monday, there's a virtual open house at UDC at 6 o'clock, and they have the number there, and I'll find out the information. Maybe we can spread that out to the wards about the virtual.
Thanks, Dr. O'Leary. I actually am not finding that particular email. Would you please forward it to me? I'd love
Sure.
to get one more read through.
I sent it to you just now,
Ah,
within 10 or 15 minutes ago,
okay.
and you didn't get it?
I'm seeing, unfortunately not.
All right, let me, I will do that.
Thank
Now,
you.
do you
And
have
my
any?
question, yeah, just a follow-up there is, are you, it's great to celebrate the successes. What does that mean moving forwards? What are some of the things? I'm a big fan of Dr. Burton's leadership at UDC and would love to help where we can. In your last conversation with her, did she have an ask for something we could help raise or elevate?
I've asked them to come testify about the programs, which I think will be helpful, I guess, at the public.
And Dr. Lear, I just want to be cautious there of, they're busy. If we can't do anything with it, I don't want to add another thing to their plate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that basically this is the script for their 3 minutes kind of thing, but it would just be an information spreading kind of a, and we could ask questions and things, but to find out, to just publicize the program. I think that's important, that we can use our pulpit to spread the word about the program.
Okay, so it's more about getting people to, is that a problem they're facing though? Is there not enough demand for the programs
I think it's a communication problem. And we talked about that extensively in our meeting about the fact that, you know, there is some, I think the president has some money and they want to be able to publicize the program.
And what is who is their target demographic there?
I
Who do they
think
want
that,
to do
I
it?
think for the master's program, that it would be, go through DCPS and teachers who have an undergraduate degree.
So instead of asking them to testify, which, as you know, is not just 3 minutes, right? It takes some time to be there and make sure that you show up on time. It's if we're clear on what the ask is, my recommendation would be we save her a step and we just start thinking of a plan to help get the word out. There's that
Okay,
Teacher
that
Voice
sounds
Award
great.
this
And I'll-
Saturday, right, with Empower Ed, and I wonder if we could ask Scott to share information about this program when there's a ton of educators all around, and think
No,
about
that's a great idea. We could, I'll call Scott and see how he feels about that, and then
Great.
I'll send him this one pager.
super.
And
Yeah,
I think
that's great.
I think UDC is working on some advertising, you know, pretty picture kind of things that would highlight it too. And I'll get back with her tomorrow about that. That's extremely helpful.
Super, yeah. And I think as we think about, right, there's and Dr. O'Leary, you've raised the importance of what we need to do today. So I'm also feeling, you know, this is a long-term build the pipeline and the strength of the pipeline conversation, which I think we have to continue to have. I think on the other side of this is still the house is burning. How do we help there from this committee? And so I'm wondering if when you had conversations with Dr. Burton about or others about what we can do to help schools and help our education system today to replenish and support teachers in the system, what ideas have come up? I think because the last time we met was before this break, right? So we had talked about going back to Dr. Mary Levy's recommendations, picking one and really focusing in on it, right?
Right. No, I for UDC, I think that you've covered it's really a matter of getting the word out.
Okay, super.
Okay, that's if there's I wouldn't say there's a fire for that, but there's there may be some smoke, a little sniff of smoke. All right. But I'm finished with that right now.
Okay, super. And I'm excited to get the word out about their programs. So and maybe we can bring that up together, Dr. O'Leary, on Wednesday. Sure. To ask all of our colleagues to also share with teachers in schools in their ward. Yeah,
okay. And since I'm in charge, you'll do it. When we do the committee report.
Okay.
And we'll just double up on the committee report.
Sounds great.
Since for at least another year and a half, we're going to be the committee, I guess. So, but I think we need to have someone else on but we'll have new people on the board too.
Yeah, that's right.
So we can, all right. So let's look at Mary Levy's, can you pull that up, Caitlin?
Oh, okay. So if we're moving to the next agenda item regarding where I have Mary Levy recommendation resolution draft. So based off of our committee discussion in July, when she came to basically discuss OSCE's 2022 educator workforce report, we had agreed that we would draft a resolution with her recommendations about the additional pieces of data we would like OSCE to include in their subsequent reports. So I hoped to have a draft ready by this time. I do not. I got caught up with a lot of other work assignments. So my hope is that I will send that to you guys first thing tomorrow morning so that you can review it. And then we can talk about that also during our committee report at the working session tomorrow. And then if our goal is to have the resolution adopted by the October public meeting, then I will ask the student representatives and the SAC if we can be on their agenda, because they are meeting next Monday. So we can get the SAC statement and then the equity statement, and then we could be able to pass that in October. And this also leads into the next agenda item about the committee of the whole hearing. So if we successfully pass this resolution by the public meeting, we will then be able to add that we also passed a recent resolution into our testimony, which I think will just help strengthen just the basis of our testimony. So that is my plan. And I hope to no longer be delinquent on this, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. And what do you need from us, Caitlin?
Nothing, just your eyes tomorrow morning.
Super. Okay. Dr. O'Leary, you are muted.
I put a piece of paper on the keyboard and everything changed on the whole screen, so I don't know what happened. I think that's now will we be able to have that resolution ready by next Wednesday?
I mean, yes, that is my full intent. So the draft will be ready tomorrow morning, and then we can finalize it before the SAC meeting on Monday, and then it will be ready for the public meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay, and I was talking to Emily and Jessica today about the resolution about teacher contract. And sometimes I wonder, sometimes we have resolutions that are very people-friendly kinds of resolutions that are easily addressable, and but they don't really have any of our substance to them. Like, and I'm not dismissing any of the resolutions. I'm just saying that every now and then we have, hey, Ebony Rose, welcome.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, we were just talking about we weren't talking about anything. Resolutions. We were talking about resolutions.
It sounded like you were talking about something.
No, we were talking, but I was thinking about how some resolutions are very politically correct kind of resolutions, rather than I'm not saying anything bad about them, but this one about the teacher's contract is I mean, I take it personally, but it's also a very important idea. But it needs to be rephrased, I think, in order for it to have maximum potential to be, rather than just saying teachers need more money or whatever, which they do, but rather than just that.
Yeah, I did read it earlier today. I haven't yet responded because I spend my life in meetings. But I think the following things. I totally agree with you that it's important. I think it's an important idea, right? Like I think the following things about life. So like power is gonna exist. Yeah, and there's a question of like if it kind of coalesces at the bottom, or like the larger group, which is the workers, or if it coalesces at the top. I get it. That's the whole reason we have unions. Totally get that. And I think workers should have fair contracts. I believe that. I'm going to tell you what my honest concern is about just us passing a resolution, period. I'm worried that since we do not know what is happening in mediation, and nobody is going to tell us, and nobody can tell us what is happening in mediation, we do not know the substance of the debate, both in context, in tenor, And like, what is the thing that's going to just like blow the whole thing up? And so I'm worried that like if I had my way and I could wave my magic wand, teachers would have a contract that makes sense years ago when on schedule. And I am in reading the resolution, and I saw one note about maybe it's not about salary, because I've also heard mixed things about like what the sticking points are. I'm worried that I'm trying to figure out how we convey something is an important idea and not be so specific, not knowing what we're
But-
talking about. Like,
And that's
and what's the thing that's going to derail the whole thing. Like, if I think our intention, I don't think anybody on the board is going to say to you, they don't want teachers to have a contract. I don't think anybody on the board is trying to like derail the whole negotiations. And I can't imagine, because I just don't know what the things are that would do that or not. And so like, I want us to weigh in a way that's productive. And I've kind of asked offline, less so with the members, honestly, with people who I suspect might know. And saying like, what's helpful? This seems to be stuck, like, but maybe it's not, because we're on the outside, we're all on the outside, we're not in the room where it happens, right? Like, so I don't know. And so that's my fear, is because like, you know me, I like stuff to get done. I don't, and I'm worried that I don't know enough to know what's helpful. And so I don't know what the board's gonna vote to do. I'm not so sure I even have a suggestion yet around what the language should be. But I do think I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what your I heard you say you were having a conversation with Emily and with Jessica, but I'm going to assume that they probably have different thoughts about this. But I wouldn't be surprised if like one of the questions that's asked is like, or I guess my question for myself is like, how do we know what to say? And then
Right.
like,
That's
if anything at all, or if there are other ways that we should weigh in. Because we do have access and we do have power. And like, I think everybody should sign the petition if like that is something they feel moved to do. But I am worried about a public document that there is no way we can know what to put in it.
I think that as far as I'm concerned, looking at it,
yeah,
it's what you're talking about is the last paragraph.
Okay, say more.
And the last paragraph has to do with advising the mayor to do something. And like you said, I have no idea what they're talking about in their room.
Right.
At all. I don't know what the sticking points are. Nobody is talking about anything. All right. What we heard from the last time, the testimony last time was powerful, but we have no idea what is going on in that room.
Right. And neither do they.
I know.
Because they're in mediation. Like, and that's not that's not a judgment. That literally is the fact of where we are at this point. Like, you can't.
So if you look at that document, the first maybe 5 paragraphs, they're all short. They're documenting what teachers deserve. All right. But the last paragraph is talking about, is a charge, really, that we think that this should be done. And I don't agree with the last paragraph at all.
This I find this helpful. So one idea, and that this is just brainstorming now, of things that we can agree on and do as a board, right? And I think that, and Caitlin, jump in here, please, with what precedent there might be for something. Sorry, excuse me, of thinking about, here are the things that we value, right? Like we value that teachers have a fair living wage. We value that teachers have the flexibility and autonomy to be able to have enough prep time to serve their students. We value that, teachers are not overwhelmed with all the tasks that, we should be hiring additional staff within schools to also help with, right? Like, for example, not always also be a school nurse as a second job that you're not paid for, right? I mean, I think there are some things that we can say that we agree on that may or may not be part of this conversation, but are one layer more abstract, as a way for us to kind of rally in solidarity behind something, right? That gets us out of this. Okay, so some of us want to say right. It's not a we support teachers or not, and I fear that the debate could devolve into that on Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah,
not
no, I
that's
agree
not the debate.
completely.
And is there something that doesn't get us into the trap of fighting about, you know, that in a black and white way, or that allows us to not also do what I hear your concern too, VP, of actually then being worse because we said something and making it worse because we said something. So is there a way, instead of like making the final paragraph and ask to all
Yeah.
parties to, you know, at least, you know, make a decision that is based on these values?
I agree completely. And I guess that's what should hash out tomorrow.
This is, you know, VP Thompson, you and President Sutter's decision, I think, of how much time we put on this tomorrow. But
I don't know. I honestly, so y'all know my sense of time is trash. I mean, I think comments are helpful now, like just in the document and that type of thing. I think that framing also is helpful because I don't know if I would have considered it, like that language before having this conversation. And clearly I logged on, didn't even realize we were having this conversation. I think the other thing, like the other technicality I heard, not here, but like I heard it in the testimony, and I heard it when I've talked with other just like union people, is this idea that it gets kicked to what is it? Like a judge or something decides if they can't agree. And so like if it doesn't go, if they can't figure it out in mediation, it goes to like arbitration or something.
Yeah.
Which sounded like nobody wants it, which is also one of the reasons I'm like, we don't know what
At all.
right? Like, so I think that framing kind of might help Representative Shane with something of what you're talking about, because I totally agree. It's not that for me at least, I would agree in the assessment that our board conversation is not, do we support educators or not? It's not that. It literally is, as you said, Representative O'Leary, what does it look like to raise this as an important issue and stand in solidarity, but also in a productive way, because we want, like at the end of the day, you want the goal done. And so it's always a question of like, how do we get the job done? And we're not in a position where we have enough information to be specific, and we do have to be careful about the framing. I also, just like when you said the word precedent, what it made me think of is, no, I don't know of any precedent for this. And I'm not sure what precedent, honestly, we would be setting as a state board weighing in on like LEA labor issues, or if like we would get into trouble, like not into trouble, but like, you know, we're not a local board. Like if we were a local board, we would be part of these negotiations, period, because they would be in our purview. And like, I would imagine that given we have so many LEAs in the district, it might not always, I mean, look, the Starbucks workers just unionized. We've had a couple of charters try to unionize. There's a lot going on. So it might be that the WTU is not, and they're actually not the only union that work in schools, but they might not be the only teachers union forever. Or you might have charter teachers joining the WTU, like anything could happen. I have no idea. But like, I had not considered what precedent would we be setting as a state board weighing in on a individual LEA's labor dispute. I mean, it's honest, like, I just hadn't considered it, and I think I need to think through that. Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. But it's not, the way it's written right now, I think is not not the message we want to send. The message we want to send is, like you were saying, we all want teachers to be compensated fairly and to be able to work at their jobs, like Alistair was saying, rather than being the school nurse or being the COVID checker or being the substitute teacher in a class they don't know anything about the subject kind of thing. I mean, there are too many things going wrong right now with, I don't know about yours, in your schools, Alistair, are there a lot of vacancies?
Of teachers or
Yeah,
of
of
students?
teachers.
I would say fewer than in your schools.
Well, I know we have, I mean, well, that's not one of my schools, but I'm sort of tied to it. I mean, Cardozo's got over 10 teacher vacancies right now.
Mhm.
And they just got a influx, a different, I don't know if it really does have to do with teacher retention. There's no question about it. They just got a lot of these immigrant children that just arrived in DC from Oklahoma and Florida and stuff like that. Plus, unlike the rest of the time, a lot of the charters have gotten rid of students before the count, which I've never heard of before. So Cardozo added 200 students in the last couple of weeks. And they would, yeah, that's right. Thank you,
Oh.
Alistair.
Okay.
And they their population jumped like a third.
Yeah, I didn't hear from like I was at HC Wilson's back to school night, and I was talking with the principal, and he told me they've gotten they have been exceeding their projection expectations this year, and that their enrollment was up. And so I think those things are encouraging. I mean,
They're
also
encouraging
because of, like, you know, just how we resource and when we count and all the things that means. Especially in a time where we have been talking a lot about the fears around school enrollment decreasing, whether because people didn't come back to DCPS or homeschooled or, you know, went virtual options or whatever it is. So it also comes with the problems you're talking about, Representative O'Leary, as far as like, if we hadn't planned for those kids, how are
Well,
we
see, the
resourcing?
problem is all the schools planned for what their projected enrollment was.
Right.
The problem is that they don't have the teachers for their projected enrollment. I mean,
Yeah. Oh no, you're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you. I don't know what happened. The frustration in your face.
there's a piece of paper on the keyboard has muted me twice.
You know, the what do you call the space button acts as a mute button. So if you touch that space bar, it mutes you.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't, I think I remember, now that you mention it, I think I remember that in the past. But so teacher retention right now is exacerbated by the enrollment increase. And in Ward 4, we don't have any schools in Ward 4 who are lower than they were last year. As far as I know.
I mean, part of the question of my mind goes in all kinds of directions, Dr. O'Leary. One is just how dynamic our data can be around supply, demand, gaps, right? I mean, we don't know formally until much too late.
Big time.
And so I just want to make sure we're closed out on the previous conversation. So when it comes to the resolution, VP Thompson, are we taking you and President Sutter's lead on leading that conversation tomorrow to get us to a place where we can come to a whether or not it's a resolution conversation first, or how is that? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Well, that's so typically, I mean, I guess it's just like we do everything else. I mean, it would be, there's the point where we do new business. Kimba doesn't like this. So there's the point where we would do new business, and then the resolution would be presented, because it had to be presented at the working session.
Got it.
And then I guess we would have a conversation about,
Okay.
I mean, that could happen then, but it would be Representative Gasoy, since she sent it, that would need the conversation, I guess, with the presentation from us. Kimba, sorry, it's that time of day. So, yeah, that I don't think that would be any different.
Okay. So
What I have not looked at, to your question about how much time, I don't have in my head the timing of the full agenda.
okay,
Well,
because
I think that I think Representative Chang, that we need to be given a time. The problem with using too much time for things that really don't need all that time is that the guidelines need to be followed. So if we have 10 minutes to discuss it, then we have 10 minutes to discuss it. And you only get 2 minutes to talk or whatever.
Well,
And
see,
then cut
I think, so what I was responding to was Representative Chang's question about the process.
Yeah.
And in my mind, we treat it I don't, yes, resolutions cover a whole, and we don't have anything in our bylaws to talk about what resolutions cover and all the things like that, but they cover a whole range of things. So we need the same process for any other resolution. What I guess it's up to President Sutter, and I guess, and she and I can talk about, we can talk about this at the admin committee meeting tomorrow.
okay, thank you. Yeah.
But if it's a timeline we want to set, but a time frame for the discussion we want to set, which sounds like it's suggested from the committee, because the other place, because this did not come from the educator practice committee. So if it was coming from the educator practice, and I'm not saying it should have, I'm not saying it's inappropriate, I'm just walking through the options. If it would have come from the educator practice committee, we would have done it during the committee would present it, right? But because it didn't,
now we're doing it.
Representative Gasoy will present it during the new business, and it is on, I believe, the agenda to be discussed in that section.
Got it. So that's a really, I talked earlier, not to take that and run too far with what you just said, but what if this committee proposes an alternative?
It could do that. It could totally do that. And I mean, honestly, and this committee could propose an alternative. And there have been times where a resolution has come up and we kick it to the committee because the committee's been wrestling with the different issues. Or the committee could come with some language in concert with Representative Gasoy. All of those things are open. And I think and to the points earlier made, it's not a question of if the board members support educators, it's the wrestling with the how do we weigh in a productive way. And I think as long as that framing stays on the table, there are a bunch of different options, but it's just because literally at the way my version of events anyway, we heard the testimonies. Representative Gasoy said she wanted to take the lead on putting together a resolution and sent it via email. So as of right now, she would be presenting it, but she did not defer to the committee. I also haven't seen the equity statement.
She has it's part of her email.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So
and I don't know if she talked to the students or not.
What if we took it and as a committee, we proposed, all of the whereases she's got there already. And this deserves a conversation with Dr. Gasoy too, but
right.
Just throwing an idea out, and then it adds a couple whereases that you named, VP, whereas there is no precedent around state agencies getting involved with the this particular conversation that we can find. And whereas we do not know the details of the actual, because it's in mediation, and whereas, you know, the actual, you know, well, I mean, is it
Well-
redundant to say the details matter? In how we can come up with a resolution that has a very particular ask to it, right? Be it resolved that the State Board of Education agrees on, like, some of these broader value statements, and hope that the mediation will like prioritize and or at least consider these kind of like higher level mission-based focal points in in their conversation. And it's not because how do like you're saying, how do we actually resolve and make a recommendation of specific details when we don't know what details are being actually at the heart of the debate right now?
I don't know. I tend to lean toward them more because we don't have the details, like the mission, like the things that I do think we all would agree on, and we hope are driving the mediation, right? Like, you know, fair contract, and I guess we don't know what they're defining as fair at this point, but like fair, I think making sure schools are resourced and educators are supported, and student conditions and teacher conditions and all the things. I think those are, I would say that those aren't, they aren't unreasonable, and I can't imagine they wouldn't be, again, issues and values that we can't agree the negotiation be driven by. I would be more hesitant to include, whereas we haven't had precedent for this before, because honestly,
I agree.
then that opens the question of if we should be weighing in the first place, because
I don't think we even should
it
be.
gets messy. And I don't know, like I haven't talked to Vega, I haven't talked to anybody's lawyer. I don't know the answer to that. But I literally, when you said, is there precedent for this? I was like, I don't know of one. And you know, because I'm all in the governance muckety muck, I am very concerned about the state versus the local and I don't. Yeah. So
Why don't we make
might
it?
come back to say that Baker might come back to say to us and say it's inappropriate to weigh in on a labor dispute. Who knows?
I think we should not worry about precedent and not worry about mediation. That are therefore, or whatever the last word is in the after the whereases, should be strictly upon teacher support.
Okay, so it's
That's
you know, and one of the whereases is like we have across the country a shortage of I mean, we have shortages of all kinds of employment, right? Especially in-person work right now, but like teachers being one of the really critical ones, and the ones that we are talking about in this committee. So Ebony Rose, is your concern that, and this is a bigger question that I just don't know how to even ask, is your concern that naming the fact that the teachers union is having a conversation about, like, could it be, whereas it is our understanding that the WTU is in mediation currently, is too much? Or is that
no? My reaction was, well, I don't think that's necessary language, but that's actually not what I'm having a reaction to. My reaction is whereas there is no precedent.
Oh yeah, okay,
right. I think we should
totally let's cut that. Okay,
not
but
say
do you
anything
see,
about that, because
but the rest, are we okay? Are we okay with trying to talk with Emily about drafting it that way instead, without a actionable ask, but rather as a statement of solidarity?
Concern.
I don't know what the actionable ask is in the same way.
I don't either.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either. Like, we can't, honestly, and we can't know. Like any other time, I would be like, we need to
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm super for like metrics. Like, what is the thing we want? And it's impossible for us to know. So I do think we need to, yes, we got to have a conversation around Representative Gasoy, because I think it is a shared, we have a shared interest in this, and we don't, and we want to make it successful.
Okay, so Boss Caitlin, I know you had worked on thinking about some of the Mary Levy stuff for us tomorrow. Could we instead take that time you were going to spend on that and get your help to craft this?
I can do both.
You are amazing. You are amazing.
Of
Okay,
course she can, because she's the boss lady.
so I think what this would look like in my kind of stream of consciousness here is statement about staffing challenges that DC schools have faced during the pandemic and before, right? Taking some of the Mary Levy language that and what we know about that, and what are some of the other whereas contexts that we want to add as a committee?
I think so. To your point about the Mary Levy, I think it's our continued commitment to teacher retention. Right? Like or at least decreasing teacher turnover. But I think it's a commitment. I think we have as a board a commitment to teacher retention. I think we also have a continued commitment to making sure schools are adequately resourced. I think in this case, we want, I think those are the two like larger frames within that. Can be some of the stuff around, some of the whereas clauses that are already existing around like, that would mean we support, like we want a resolution or a contract, this contract decided, and we want everybody to come to the table around that, like those types of things. But in my mind, the adequate resourcing and support and the commitment to teacher retention frame the other things. So like when I saw the resolution around like flexibility and planning or something like, I think was that right? I don't want to misquote, but something like that. Like to me, that's a resource question. Like that's a teachers, that's a resource question. That's a fair contract question, but it's the same. They fall into those larger buckets.
And skirting around all of that, right? I mean, actually, in this case, because it's a weird one that we're drafting, I have a hard time thinking about what goes in whereas and what goes as after therefore, right? So, I mean, there are like evidence-based practices of how much time, right, of preparation time or time between, or right. It's hard for me to know if that's.
And maybe it's mostly, honestly, in this case, maybe it's mostly whereases and the therefore, and I don't remember which one of you said it, because it's been a robust conversation and I think a good one. Maybe the therefore is the about the coming to the table on both sides, right? Like therefore we support like you all coming to the table to get this done, right?
Getting this done with these values and
with these values in mind, and these,
Dr. O'Leary, do you have a better end? Therefore, ask.
Yeah, because I know you said like, the last paragraph for you was particularly.
Pull up the document, and for some reason, I've gone to all my different emails and try to pull it up, and it disappears. So I just cut my computer off because I don't know why it's doing that. So I don't have the document in front of me.
Well, but I know, Representative O'Leary, you said particularly the last paragraph was, needed.
Well, can you look at it, Alistair? Are you looking at it? You can just.
I don't have it pulled up, but
okay.
I did, but because I looked at it.
Can you just read the last paragraph, the therefore, I guess, because I've already torn it up with both of them.
I'm trying to get there.
Because it was like sort of ordering the mayor to do something.
Well, see, the other thing, I hear you. The other thing I'm not, and somebody tell me, because this could be just a learning for me. Is it the mayor or is it the chancellor? I guess it's the chancellor.
It's not. It's got to be the mayor, but
but like in practice, the chancellor's team.
That's not our job. That's not our job.
No, it's not our job. But I'm just saying, in practice, the chancellor's team negotiates, and then what? The mayor signs off on the contract. Like, how does that?
I don't think the chancellor does anything without the mayor telling him to do it.
I don't mean like, again, that's a question of dynamics, and this is why understanding the dynamics are important, but like, I'm saying like, technically, as someone who has never done contract negotiations for the Washington Teachers Union, the negotiations are with the chancellor, right? Or no?
Yeah, his
Okay.
team is the person, it's the union team and the chancellor's team.
Right. Okay. That's what I was trying to make sure I wasn't
No,
confused.
that's what it is.
Mhm.
Dr. Leary, when you spoke to Dr. Gasoy, had she spoken to anyone from the WTU to clarify what ask?
Yes, the asks, as far as I sort of ignored the last paragraph, but the asks that they were talking about were the ones that were in the whereas.
Oh. And those are asks from the WTU? I mean, were they open
Yeah.
to those things? Okay, interesting.
That's what the people on the negotiation team said, or people in the WTU?
No, that was she mentioned Jackie. She
Yeah.
mentioned Laura. She mentioned what's the lady's name? The vice president.
Regina.
Yeah. I think those are the people she mentioned.
Because
But I agree. I mean, see, we represent all the LEAs. And you know, but DCPS is obviously the largest one. And I don't think that the other large LEAs have unions.
yeah,
But it's still not, we're not labor negotiators.
right. Right. Like, yeah.
I'm trying to pull this thing up, but
I'm putting the last paragraph in the chat.
okay, let me look in the chat. I do know how to do that. See that
Also, sorry, while you doing that, there's also a clause in here about them being the only citywide union. I don't know if that's true. They might be the last of the education unions, but I just don't know if that's true.
well, the substitutes have a union.
Right, and they want stuff, but I'm just saying, I don't know if it's true that they're the only ones that haven't had their stuff updated or renewed, and I don't want to say anything that's not true. Like, how would we check that? How would we check all the unions that the city deals with?
How do I look at this? I see the first 4 lines.
Hold on.
I don't even know how to make it.
You want the whole resolution? I thought you just wanted.
No, I know, but I can't get past Bowser. The name Bowser is the last thing I can see.
Oh, you gotta scroll it up.
Yeah, I know, but
You want me to email it to you?
yeah, we're about to run out of time, I think.
Okay, I'm just gonna cut and paste this Google Doc and put it in the body of an email.
Okay.
Okay. Because I definitely hear you on like since we are talking about a document, it would be good to know what we're responding to. Like, to be working from a place of shared reality. It's always good.
I'm trying to think of, was it emphatically urges? Was that part of the original
It
document?
was. I'm sending it now.
Okay. Are you sending it to my DCPS?
I'm sending it to your SBOE.
Okay, SBOE, whatever I am, whichever email. Now I've got to get, my computer's got to get back working again. I don't have one of those. I guess I could, no, I don't know how to look it up on my laptop.
Okay, listen.
Also, a point of clarification before I actively start working on this. Is it that we are proposing new clauses in Emily's document, or we're just doing our complete own, like, separate one?
That's a good question, Peyton.
It's a really good question. Let's see.
I think we should come prepared to talk about editing.
Okay, so then this conversation is happening solely in new business.
I think it
Uh,
has to.
Do
Okay.
we, I mean, now that we have it in our inboxes, thanks for forwarding it. So it's at the top of our inbox, Ebony Rose. Dr. Lear, do you see any?
I can't, I'm still waiting for the.
Caitlin, can you share your screen or am I allowed to share mine?
I'll let you share your screen.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that'll be, I guess we could have thought about that to begin.
Tell me when I'm allowed, Caitlin.
Give it a try now.
Hey. All right. Dr. Leary, if you are looking at this, do you see any whereases that you want to keep, any whereases that you would like to change?
Hold on. Trying to make myself.
I think the fifth whereas is not conducive to anything but making everybody look bad.
Yeah, I also don't know. I don't know how evergreen that language is, or yeah. So that. Hey,
Okay, I think that's an interesting, the one you brought up, Ebony Rose, about the only union.
mhm.
I mean, if I'm doing this as as the English teacher who wrote this or whatever, I would take out the whereas DCPS teachers are now required to support students during a pandemic without blah, 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 which is true, but it's not conducive to a positive resolution. And the thing about the union, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know those things.
I know that the big unions, like the police, the firemen, and the principals, all got contracts renewed. Or contracts not renewed, but they got their contracts approved.
So what if I can I propose something, Caitlin, and everyone? The first whereas is we add our broader naming the problem as a structural issue across the it is a countrywide problem. It has been a citywide problem. We cite some of the Mary Levy things that have been named in earlier whereases. Caitlin, can we get your help with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Broad context challenges. We move into, whereas the WTU testified, because that is a fact, right? They came in and testified and shared some of the challenges.
Whereas WTU members testify.
Yes. Yep. And the I'd love a citation for highest turnover rate. I think that is also something that is findable, right, Caitlin? And I agree. Let's make this more of a timeless piece then, if we're going to state it as a or timeless being one layer more abstract is my recommendation. So and we're only talking about DCPS, aren't we? Yep. Okay. So that red line, whereas DCPS teachers are now required to support students. Do we have another series of, I think we had other testimonies early on in the pandemic that we can cite, right? Whereas DCPS teachers testified to share that they were responsible for other tasks, like additional tasks during the pandemic from what like their usual work. Does that make sense?
I think that's is that mentioned, even though it could, I would take out the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth line.
think it should just go.
Okay, all right.
And I think that that would cover what you're talking about. I don't think we need, it seems to me that everything that's said in white has to do with supporting teachers.
And then I
it's-
kind of, yeah, and then I kind of like it as, and this is what we've been discussing, Evan. I almost see it as, therefore be it resolved that, you know, working conditions for teachers should create a positive learning environment for students.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Like changing it to,
Stop. Can I say this real quickly before the dog goes crazy? And I'm gonna let him outside because that's what needs to happen here. The only thing I would add is I think adding the Mary Levy stuff at the top is again the framing of the why we think it's important. Is like we
yep.
you know what I mean? Like what did I say? That we want our schools to be adequately resourced, and we have had a continued commitment to improving teacher retention. Period. Like that at the top is part of the framing.
Yeah.
And that's why this matters to us. Because I think that's important.
But do you agree that the therefores can be multiple also? That like
They could be. I just didn't want us to get into it has to be like I think it's always a question of like what works at the given time. It could be one therefore, it could be multiple, but it didn't have to, you know.
But I mean, no one disagrees that like instead, you know, teachers should have adequate time to thoughtfully plan.
No, I don't think.
No one disagrees on that. And it's so, you know, framing it as like, therefore, like teachers should have adequate time to thoughtfully plan, to me feels like something we can all agree on, right? I think it's naming it within a contract that makes it actually gets into some of the thornier things that you're naming.
Right.
We have that here, though.
But if we took out the word contract and said, oh, no, you know
Oh,
what?
I see what you're saying.
Maybe what you're saying actually makes much more sense. I mean, sorry, my stream of consciousness, I've had a long day. The whereas teachers should have adequate time to thoughtfully plan is something we can all agree on. Therefore, be it resolved that, how did you name it, Ebony Rose? It's, you know, that a contract, you know, we urge the creation. Yeah.
Yeah, we urge these, I don't know, principles. I think I actually took some of your language. We urge these
Negotiators.
No, not that. It was like these values. It was like Alistair said something about could we make it more mission and values based? We urge these values and principles to be like the driving, like something what did
Prioritized, like
prioritize and driving this negotiation to a resolution or something like that. Because
speedy resolution.
To a speedy resolution. Like it was to your point, Representative O'Leary, of, you know, is we don't want to like not saying like getting away from the emphatically urges Mayor Bowser to like actually like all of y'all need to just get it together because this is bad for kids.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's bad for teachers.
We
And
don't want
when it done.
You don't want to, like you said, like y'all both were talking about, we don't even know who's doing what anyway.
Yeah.
So we want everybody to do it.
Okay.
Yes. And I just
I like that.
I'm sorry. And I just have to believe that they want it done too. Like I have to believe that teachers want it done. I have to believe that they will agree to those principles we talked about, because that's what I heard people saying. And so, yeah.
So first, Caitlin, do you have enough from us to put a draft together?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And second, Dr. O'Leary, could you call Dr. Gasoy and have this conversation as the
Yeah,
head
I
of
will.
the committee and just say that this is something that we plan on putting forward
I will.
tomorrow? Okay. And ask for her feedback on it too?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great. It doesn't sound like we got to, I don't think we have time to get through the rest on the agenda, Caitlin, but can we?
I think that was the rest of the agenda.
Super. Okay.
Well, thank you. I mean, yes, thank you. And then thank you, Fraser, for taking the extra time to make the phone call now, because I do think it's important that, you know,
Yeah, I
Representative
agree.
Soy give us a
Um,
reaction and not be blindsided, because that's not
Are
the.
are you testifying at the teacher retention hearing, Alistair?
I was not planning to.
Ebony Rose, are you?
When is it?
25th.
October 25th.
Aren't
But
we?
you will
Aren't
be
we-
in Phoenix.
Yeah, but say, aren't we at NABC?
You'll be in Phoenix already?
I think so.
Oh,
That's yeah, it's Tuesday through, it's a long week. Either we'll be in Phoenix or we'll be leaving for Phoenix. Cause I'm a little scattered, cause I've traveled, I'm essentially gone the entire last week off.
all right.
Don't
Well,
put that on the recording, so nobody comes to my house and takes my things.
I was asking because I was asking because I wanted to know if we should have a brief meeting before the teacher retention hearing. But I guess that since I'm the only one that's going to be testifying,
But aren't you going to? No.
I'm not leaving until, when am I leaving, Caitlin? 26th?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning.
Dr. Leary, why don't you send us your draft in? I think we're happy.
Yeah,
with-
I will.
Okay.
I'm still tossing that
And
around.
if you're allowed to is he allowed to testify as like not only himself, but as the chair of this committee?
I don't think
Maybe
that
not. Maybe
I don't
not.
think that really carries that much weight.
But he
Yeah,
can
that's
say it.
fair.
I mean, I'm sure that I would feel comfortable as a committee member, Representative O'Leary saying in his in his testimony that he's both the ward for representative and chairs the Educator Practice Committee, because A is true. And B,
And yeah,
it's true.
Okay,
It matters,
Wow.
because this is something we've been working on and paying attention to. So like
long
that, I
time.
think that helps
yeah,
state that.
yeah.
great. All right,
Okay.
well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
night.